This is lesson 8.8, Fractions and Number Stories, the parent help video for grade 3 everyday math. In this lesson, students are working with number stories that involve fractional parts of things, or fractions, to try to figure out the answers, essentially. So we want kids to be able to use some counters, like pennies or pictures, to be able to solve these kind of fraction number stories. We want them to talk about a solution and the strategies for solving the fraction number stories. There's lots of different strategies students can use, and we want them to be able to talk about these. We want them to be able to use fraction cards to compare fractions. So we want them, I drew samples of fraction cards here. Essentially, we want them to have the fraction cards that have nothing in them, to the fraction cards that have just a little bit, and then be able to order them all the way up to most. And we want them to be able to use these to solve stories. So it might tell us that this is 1/2 here and 1/2 here, so they could look at that and use it as needed. Or maybe this is broken into more parts. Maybe this is 3/6 and this is 3/6. Okay, and they could use that to be able to solve stories that involve fractions. Each of these would be broken into a number of parts and would be filled up a certain amount, a fractional amount essentially. So they can use those. We also want kids to be able to measure and draw a line segment to the nearest quarter inch. So that's something we work on in today's lesson. So that's like, if we say we want them to draw it to 1 1/4 inches. Zoom in a little to be able to see. We want kids to be able to say, all right, well, here's 1 inch and here's a quarter right here. So we want them to recognize these 1/4 inch marks, and here's the line segment right here. So that's what we're working on in today's lesson as far as how you can help support this at home. Again, anything that has to do with fractions, talk to them about it, have them solve problems involving recipes, involving meals, involving food or anything that you might buy, involving money. Talk about that, talk about how you would solve it. Also have them do some measuring and try to focus on this 1/4 inch here. And it's just something to be careful to when it says measure to the nearest 1/4 inch. Remember, that could also be, this is 1 1/4. It's to every 1/4 inch. So 1 1/2 would also be to a 1/4 inch, right? This would actually be 1 2/4. As you can see, we're starting to break the ruler down now into fractional parts. Okay, so that's how this kind of relates. And 1 2/4 is also equal to 1 1/2. And then we have 1 3/4, right? 1 3/4. And you see these are mixed numbers as well. We just started working with mixed numbers, where we have a whole and then a part. And then look at this. This one here is also to a 1/4 inch, but it's 1 4/4, which we know is the same as 2. Alright, so it doesn't mean that you have to actually write a 4 in the denominator somewhere. It just means it's got to be measured to one of these 1/4 inch tick marks, which could be on the inch, it could be at the 1/4 inch, it could be at the 1/2 inch, it could be at the 3/4 inch, or again, it could be right on the inch. So that's just something to pay attention to. This is the parent help video for fractions and number stories for grade 3 everyday math.